Hey guys, it's Jennifer. Today we are doing a journal flip through and January wrap up, and I'm also going to be including my TBR balance sheet, books I purchased, and my stats. So let's just go ahead and jump into it. So first off, I've already completed my 3 and 6 reading milestones for this year. My goal for the entire year is 38. And quite frankly, if I keep this up, I am going to make this goal very quickly. So I've read about 7 or 8 by now. So 9 will be coming up here pretty soon. So this month I've already read 8 books. I finished 6 and I DNF'd 1. And I haven't finished the 8th book, which is Cat's Cradle. So paperback over hardcover, 6 over 2. I've read 1,689 pages. Rather good, I think. And I have read for 22.39 hours this month. And pretty proud of myself. Now here at the bottom, we also have my star ratings, which those are the books I purchased this month, which I already did a wrap-up video on that you can go check out. And here is my TBR balance sheet. So this month I bought 9 books. I read and DNF'd 6. Unfortunately, the first book I read this month does not count towards my TBR because it was a comic book that was lended to me by one of my coworkers. It was not really on my TBR. It doesn't count. So I have +3. My starting number was 147, so I went up by 3 books. But, so my goal next month is to read at least 4 books and not purchase anything next month, so I can get below that 147 starting number. Alright, this is my lovely January cover photo. I drew a cute little snowman and added a cute little sparkly washi tape. Beginning of January was still pretty cold here, but overall, I had a pretty good reading month. As you can see, I read almost every day except yesterday, the 31st. As always, when I flip over the page, if you don't want to be spoiled, do not read my notes. The first thing I read was Paper Girls, which is a comic book. During their paper run, I guess, I don't know if they time travel or if they go into another dimension. It's really not explained too much in the first comic book. But overall, I did enjoy it. Unless you're already pretty well-rounded in sci-fi genres about time travel, a lot of the stuff in this comic book won't make sense to you. It's not really explained thoroughly or that well. And then I started The Darkest Evening of the Year by Dean Koontz. I got 64 pages in this book, and I was kind of already done. It was moving way too slow for me, and that was really the only reason why I DNF'd it. I felt like I didn't have time to read a book that I wasn't enjoying. So I reread The Odyssey by Homer. Of course, I'm sure almost everybody read this back in high school. It took me a while to read this month. I wasn't as enjoying it that much. But my only problem is the characters talk way too much, like they're over dramatic about everything. I'm not going to go too much into detail what the Odyssey is about because I think almost everybody should already know. And then I read Speak by Laurie Anderson, and I didn't know what I was supposed to be expecting from this book. I knew what it was about when I was going into it, because if you read a synopsis about it, it tells you what it's about. But if you go into this not reading the synopsis, you know that something has happened to the main character, but you're not sure what, and you don't get to, she doesn't flat out tell you or speak about it until much later in the book. And this book, basically, most of it deals with the depression after this event happened to her. Forewarning though, sexual assault or rape upsets you, this is not the book to read. It's very eye-opening, and I appreciated what the author was trying to do. And then I read The Librarian of Auschwitz. I did not have a little printout of the book here, but here is My Librarian of Auschwitz. I already explained in my January haul what this book is about. It's about a girl named Dita that's in Auschwitz, and she distributes books to other prisoners in there as well. And it was really good. It was really difficult to read at sometimes. Obviously, the subject matter is pretty difficult. There's death and, you know, human experimentation, a whole lot of awful things. But this book was really good. There is a foreword and an afterword in this book. The foreword is basically Dita kind of explaining what the book is about, and also that this book was initially written in Spanish and translated into English later on, which I found interesting. I only gave it 4 stars. The reason why I gave it 4 stars was in the book, when the author is talking about someone versus when another character says somebody's name, the spelling of the name changes. And I don't know why. I don't know if it's pronounced a different way because, you know, they're supposed to be speaking in German or Dutch, depending what character it is. And it confused me quite a bit sometimes because Dita, the way Dita's name is spelled changes when somebody else talks to her. It's Dita. And it also goes back and forth between the first and last names of other characters as well. So sometimes I found it kind of difficult to keep up with all the different characters and who it's who because it kept going back and forth. But otherwise, it was a really good read. And then I read Marked by PC Cast and Kristen Cast. I read this whole series back in high school, and I loved it then, and I have no idea why I liked it. While I like the main plot and, because I know exactly where this book is going, because again, I've read it, I like the plot. But the writing is completely terrible. Not only does, the way the teenagers talk feel forced by both writers, the main character, Zoe, calls everyone a hoe. XYZ is a hoe, my sister is a hoe, Aphrodite is a hoe. Stop calling everybody a hoe. Because if you've read this series, you know exactly what happens. One, I don't like people slut-shaming, first off. But also, she's a hypocrite. And that's the thing that pisses me off the most, is that Zoe's a freaking hypocrite. I am going to go ahead and continue and finish this series because I own all 17 books related to this series. So expect a couple videos of me ranting about the rest of the books in the series. I'm kind of disappointed because I really did like this as a teenager. I like the fact that these are different kind of vampires. These are ancient beings. You know, they have marks on their forehead, and, you know, that's why it's called Marked. And I like that aspect. But the writing itself is awful. The idea of the book is great. The writing is awful. Then I read Venus in Furs. I have not rated this book yet because I don't know if I love it or if I hate it. I may eventually make a video about this book later in this month. So me maybe verbalizing the things I do and don't like about this book can determine exactly how I feel about this book. It is a erotica, but it is not pornographic or sexually explicit. There is BDSM, there's whipping, and a whole lot of sadism and masochism. It's more, instead of physical sadism and masochism, it's more like psychological. And I will go more into details about that book when and if I make a video about it. I did enjoy reading it, but I don't know if I liked the outcome of the book. As you can see, I wrote a lot of words that I didn't know down or had no idea what they meant and wrote the definitions. And I really wasn't expecting that from an erotica book. So that's one of the things I did enjoy about it. And then I started Cat's Cradle by Kurt Vonnegut. I honestly haven't gotten very far in this book. I think this book is almost 300 pages long. I've been reading it for, 4 days now, and I'm only 100 pages in. It's a little slow going for me, and the reason why it's a little slow going for me is because the chapters are ridiculously short. Most of them or a page and a half long. So when I'm reading it, I feel like I'm stopping, I'm going. I'm stopping, I'm going. It feels like I'm in a car with somebody that does not know how to drive a stick shift. And I think that's part of the reason why it's taking me so long to read this book, because it doesn't seem fluid enough. And I feel like it's way too easy for me to put down the book because there's so many chapters and they're so short. But that's all I read this month. It was a pretty good reading month for me. But I will be uploading a video next week. It's kind of a draw with me for the February cover photo that I did. So not only do you get to see that sooner, but if you do journaling and maybe you like my picture, you can draw it too. That's all I have for you today. Thank you so much for watching, and I will see you again next time. Bye!